Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the licensing hearing. It's the 19th of July. The hearing is to consider the application for a premises licence on behalf of the Sycamore Restaurant Limited. Starting with agenda part 1, item 1, which is the election of a chair for the hearing, please.
I'll formally move.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. First of all, declarations of members' interest. Have we any declarations from the panel? Okay. Before we start, just to let everyone know that this is being recorded, so it will go out on, will be, I'm not going to say Netflix. We'll go on YouTube, so it'll go on later on. First of all, we'll go along. Sorry, I should have said, make sure, because it's being recorded, that when you use your microphones, you press the right-hand button to speak, and when you finish speaking, you press it to switch off. Also, as it's being recorded, if you've got any laptops, mobile phones, anything like that, you know, it is possible that that could be seen by the camera. Okay? I can't see any, so we'll be all right with that one. Right, we'll go round and introduce ourselves, beginning with Daniel.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Daniel Banbury. I'm a lawyer within the regulation team, and my role is to give legal advice to the members.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Heather Bowers from Democratic Services, and I'll be taking a note of the meeting.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Alex Wallace. I represent the Sleepburn ward.
I am Councillor Ian Hutchinson, representing Haltwhistle, with a slight summer cold. Sorry.
Councillor Colin Harley, representing Norham and Islandshire.
Councillor Alan Sharp, representing Hayden and Hadrian ward, and I'm going to be the reserve today, which Councillor Hutchins will explain.
Morning, I'm Heather Gebby, Senior Licensing Officer, and I'll present the report today.
Morning, Councillor Martin Swinbank, represent ANIC, but I'm here just in an observational capacity. I won't be taking part in the decision making today.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Nicola Allen, Miss Allen. I'm representing the applicant today. I also have with me Michael Foster, who is the MD of the business, Chris Garner, who is going to be the General Manager, and Paul Brown, who will be the Operations Manager. Thank you.
And we have members of the public.
Good morning, councillors. We're pleased to be here. Can I introduce our members along here? We'll start at the end. Is Heather? It's Helen Scott. We all live in the apartment building. Then we've got Heather Stevenson and Anne Routledge and Simon Partledge, and I am Richard Marshall.
Thank you very much. Okay. As Councillor Sharp said, Councillor Sharp is here as a reserve in case we have a declaration of interest. The three of us will be determining the application. So from there, we'll carry on. And Heather, would you like to present the application, please?
The Licensing Subcommittee hearing today is for a determination from members with regards to an application for a premises licence for the Sycamore Restaurant, 2-3 Town Hall Building, Princes Street in Corbridge. The applicant has applied for the supply of alcohol on and off the premises and regulated entertainment and late night refreshment from indoors. 11 representations have been received from interested parties on the grounds of public nuisance and prevention of crime and disorder. In determining the application and having considered the report, any verbal submissions from persons entitled to speak, and all relevant representations, The subcommittee is required to make its determination in respect of the application at the conclusion of the hearing. In this case, the subcommittee may grant the licence subject to conditions consistent with the operating schedule accompanying the application, exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or reject the application if it's not possible to promote one or more of the licensing objectives. Members are reminded that they can only attach additional conditions that are appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and in respect of those matters that are subject to the application and of which a relevant representation has been made. The application itself was received on the 27th of May this year from Mr Michael Foster on behalf of the Sycamore Restaurant Limited for a premises licence for the Sycamore Restaurant, 2 to 3 Town Hall Building, Princes Street, Corbridge. Attached as Appendix A, starting on page 7 of the report, is the copy of the application itself. The applicant had originally applied for the licensable activities and timings as set out in the copy at Appendix A. However, on the 11th of July, a request was made by the applicant that the application be formally amended to reduce the timings of the licensable activities, and the copy of the letter sent to all the objectors detailing those timings is attached as Appendix C at page 47. Unfortunately, there was an error in those timings, and I can confirm that the timings sought with regards to this application are as follows. Supply of alcohol on and off the premises and recorded music indoors only are applied for as Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. till 11 p.m, Friday to Saturday, 11 a.m. till midnight, and Sunday, 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. Late night refreshment is for indoors only, Monday to Thursday, 11 p.m. till 11:30 p.m, and a Friday and Saturday, 11 p.m. till midnight. As previously mentioned, there was 11 representations to this application and from the interested parties on the grounds of public nuisance and the prevention of crime and disorder. Those are attached as Appendix B, which starts on page 27. As a reminder, the objective with regard to the prevention of public nuisance can relate to issues such as hours of operation, noise emanating from the premises, vibrations, lighting and litter, and crime and disorder can relate to any crime, disorder or antisocial behaviour at the premises or related to the management of the premises. Yesterday afternoon, members and objectors were forwarded copies of an amended proposed operating schedule to accompany the application and the skeleton argument from Ms Nicola Allen, of which she will be referring to today. Can I just confirm that everybody has copies of those? I think you said that there was a few that didn't have those. Would you like a copy? Please. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, following the decision of the Licensing Subcommittee today, if the applicant or any interested party who have made representation is aggrieved by the decision, they may appeal to the Magistrate Court within the period of 21 days, beginning on the day they receive formal written notification of the determination. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the panel to the licensing officer? None? Daniel, any questions? Okay. We'll hand over to Nicola. Please, would you like to present your case?
Thank you, Chair. One of the reasons I sent you a typed skeleton argument really is to save taking up a lot of your time today. I hope you've had a chance to look at it, but please let me know if you have any questions. Obviously, we're here today. You have a duty to listen to the representors and take into account what they say in making your decision, and you have a duty, of course, to promote the licensing objectives. Your role today is to exercise your evaluative judgment as to what is reasonably acceptable. So it's an objective test. And what I would just ask you to have in your mind, I know you're experienced counsellors, and please forgive me if I'm teaching grandma to suck eggs in effect, but the conditions should be appropriate and proportionate And as you are well aware, there are other regimes which look after other matters connected to the operation of a restaurant, for example, fire safety and building regulations. I've just set out at paragraph 6 the Licensing Act guidance, which is quite helpful in how to frame licensing conditions. And then also I mentioned at paragraph 7 Crawley Borough Council and Attenborough. And what's important is that the terms of a licence and its conditions should be clear. And that's very important because a breach of any of those conditions brings with it criminal sanctions. We've put forward an amended operating schedule. I'm quite happy that all of those conditions are clear and precise. But obviously, if you have any concerns, you may wish to discuss that. It seems to be the focus of the issues now between the parties have narrowed. The proposed operators of the restaurant have listened to the local people and have taken into account what they have said. We've also looked at other licences in the area to see what the general environment is around the building. So it appears to be that the issues between the parties are on the licensable hours generally, which they say may give rise to noise and may give rise to antisocial behaviour. Just at paragraph 9, I'm sure you'll be aware, public nuisance is the unacceptable interference with the personal comfort or amenity of neighbours or the community. And whether that is likely to happen depends on an assessment that you will make today based on the character of the locality. And there we see Sturges and Bridgman, which just explains the difference between everything's contextual. So what may be nuisance in Corbridge might not be nuisance in the middle of Newcastle and might not be nuisance in Holt Whistle and vice versa. Paragraph 11, what constitutes reasonable use for the purposes of public nuisance. So this is really, representatives have raised issues about noise disturbance, and I've just set out the characteristics that you need to have in your mind when you're considering public nuisance. It's a matter of judgment for you, and it's not fanciful, it's not delicate, it's not fastidious, it's not elegant and dainty made. This is obviously a very old case that I'm quoting from, but the reasonable person's view of what would and would not constitute public nuisance. So if we just turn over to page 4, this is the hours applied for. It seems to me the outstanding issues now appear to be the licence to play recorded music beyond 10 o'clock on a Sunday, and also the licence to operate beyond 11 o'clock on any day. It seems to me that the most focused of the objections was the letter from Mr Marshall, which actually set out a lot of the objections were very general, just saying we think this may cause crime and disorder, it may cause public nuisance. Mr Marshall, I think probably on behalf of a lot of the residents, actually focused his mind to what exactly he felt were the issues. What I would invite you to take into account just at paragraph 16, the premises is located in the centre of Corbridge. It has a mix of commercial and licensed premises and also residential uses. Those residential uses are predominantly at the first floor in, I'm sorry I put Middle Street, it's Hill Street, and the houses where the representatives live are to the north, facing into Printer Street. In the village centre, there are various licensed public houses and restaurants, including the Lion, which sits directly opposite. There's the Angel to the south, facing Aden Road. Of course, the Angel car park backs onto this premises. There's the Black Bull, the Bluebell, and also Il Piccolo is a restaurant. These premises were latterly operated as the Duck House, which had a restaurant at first floor and bar on the ground floor, and also in the recent past has been a cafe with art gallery. It's a listed grade 2 building, and it has historic interest, being the old town hall. The recently adopted Northumberland local plan identifies Corbridge as a service centre, and it encourages growth at a scale which would help to maintain and reinforce its role within the hierarchy of centres. And also policy TCS3 supports the role of village centres, supports and promotes them to be vital and viable centres for shopping, business, culture and leisure, and places to live, work and visit. So if we just come to what I think are the two issues between us, the representatives may introduce new issues and I can address those if necessary. Firstly, the application seeks a licence to play recorded music on a Sunday until 10 o'clock. This is actually permissible in licensable premises providing food and drink under the Live Music Act. So I say that's not an issue between the parties. The licence to serve alcohol and food after 11 o'clock. I would ask you to just look and have in your mind the emotive way in which some of these objections have been framed. The representatives have described the hours as very late, unusually long standard hours, and on that basis they say may lead to excessive noise and antisocial behaviour in a mainly residential area. They also assert that it will lead to deterioration of the peace and quiet of their homes, and the introduction of a late opening venue would not be fitting. It's submitted the licence seeks to open only for the daytime for the majority of the week. It only seeks to open after 11 o'clock for Friday and Saturday. And I say these are reasonable operating hours for a restaurant in the commercial centre of a village. And the other issue, of course, is that Corbridge does lack a proper restaurant with a wide offer. Il Piccolo does have a restricted offer, but this is the sort of premises that one should be encouraging in the village centres. It will bring business into the area, it will bring investment, and basically it's the sort of, just by analogy, it's the business model is similar to, say, for example, the Beaumont in Hexham, if people are familiar with that. That's quite a recent business, it's been very successful, it offers a broad range of service. So this premises, it's located on the main street in the village centre and where the licensed premises are already part of the leisure offer. The applicants only seek an opening beyond 11 o'clock, which is the night time, to allow the service of food and the sale of alcohol to complement that food. So, and it's only at weekends, it's only on the Friday and Saturday. So, for example, that really is the issue where people may come in at 9 o'clock, be having a lovely meal in a relaxed atmosphere, and it's really not appropriate then at 11 o'clock to say, I'm sorry, you can't have a dessert, or you can't have a digestive, or you can't have a quiet drink after your meal and a relax. So it's really to allow for that type of activity. So it's important the business model is for a good quality restaurant with a modest bar on the ground floor. This is entirely appropriate to the village centre location, and the hours sought are not materially longer than other licensed premises in the locality, and they are actually materially shorter than the previously premises licence held by the Duck House in this building. The licence is for background music to be played in the bar and restaurant and is entirely appropriate. The playing of music will be at a low level expected of a restaurant. So if you think that level, we all know what background music means. It's to allow diners to hear and converse above it, and it's really simply to provide ambience. It's not a source of entertainment, it's a background issue. That type of music, of course, is not expected to have any unusual tonal or impulsive characteristics. So it's not the sort of music that you will hear outside of a building envelope, or that will have particularly loud or a particular bass note to it. I did just pop some photographs in, because if you're not overly familiar with Corbridge, it's not always easy to understand the physical relationship of this building. So the windows of the premises face directly into Hill Street, all of those windows, and there are no openings facing north towards the residential premises in Princes Street. The windows facing Hill Street, you may be familiar with them. They're quite attractive, projecting oriel bays with curved glazing in crown glass. They're a key feature of the primary facade and contribute to the architectural interests of the building. This is a completely without prejudice comment, because background music will not emanate out of the building envelope, but it has been suggested that double glazing could be applied to those windows. But of course it's unlikely that that would be acceptable, because given the building is listed and it occupies a prominent position in the conservation area. It's also important when thinking about public nuisance in the context of the surrounding environment. As a matter of fact, the Golden Lion has a live music licence, as does the Angel. It's closer to all of the representatives' properties than the subject premises, and it also has windows facing them. Turning to the prevention of crime and disorder, there's no objection to the licence from Northumbrian Police or from the Council's Public Protection team. The representatives raised no specific assertions of crime and disorder associated with the licence as applied for, which are similar, and the hours are similar or less than those of other premises in the area. The applicant has offered a condition that notices be displayed on the premises, asking patrons to leave quietly and respect residential occupiers. We've also put forward operating conditions requiring staff training adoption of the Challenge 25 policy, and the keeping of records of incidents and any exclusions. These will all ensure the premises do not generate or contribute towards crime or disorder in the village. So in conclusion, for the reasons set out in my submissions, the mandatory conditions, the conditions as drafted in the application and the amended operating schedule would meet the licensing objective and would accord with the Section 182 guidance. In my submissions, these conditions are proportionate, justifiable and capable of being met, and therefore in accordance with the licensing guidelines. If I could just add, just by way of context, if we just have a quick look at the photographs, just as you will see, the first photograph on page 7, those are the 4 large bay windows which face directly into Hill Street. The bottom photograph shows, on the left-hand side, that's Princess Court, where where the representatives live. There's then a gap where the garage is. There's a blank gable wall with a window. That's not part of the premises. The premises doesn't come as far north as that. And then you'll see on the corners that there's the Lion Pub. And again, just on page 8, you'll see the relationship between the windows. So you can see the windows face into Hill Street and not towards the houses. There's no overlap. It's a very oblique 180-degree relationship. I would just ask you to note that quite a few of the objections refer to very late opening, very unusual opening hours. I think this arises from when the forms were originally filled in, they did have a 2 a.m. finish, and that was immediately amended. It's also the case that we have become aware the Hexham Courant, the notices had the correct applied for hours on, and the public notice had the correct hours, but the Courant did run a journalistic piece online saying that the opening hours were going to be to 2 a.m. As soon as we found out about that, we asked to have it taken down. We do believe it was taken down for a period of time, but we think it probably re-emerged. So I'm afraid there has been some misreporting of the application, and that may have contributed to some of the objections that have been raised. Unless I can assist you further, those are my submissions. And of course, I'm quite happy. We are all quite happy to take questions.
Thank you. Do any of the other gentlemen wish to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you. The idea behind the restaurant is to bring an offering that Corbridge doesn't have, that other villages around, like the likes of Hexham with the Beaumont has. It's a beautiful building. She's a 150-year-old Grade 2 listed building. She's revealed quite a few secrets as we've remodeled the insides of it, and we want to treat her with care and respect. There was scaffolding up around the fascia of the building for a number of weeks because we had to rebuild the windows with it being listed. They all had to conform. We can't put double glazing in. We want to be good neighbours. We want to create an offering which befits the village of Corbridge, not something which comes from a city centre. We want to use local suppliers and providers. We've got local chefs, local staff, so we're creating jobs in the community. And we live locally, so you know we understand the area, we understand the market, and that's, you know, we're not there to create trouble. We're there to create an offering which Corbridge deserves.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Great. Any questions from members?
Go on, I'll jump straight in. Something that's come out all the time is noise. And this is going to be a restaurant formerly with a cocktail bar. It's not going to be a nightclub.
No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not a nightclub. I have no intention of anything beyond midnight. Just brings in trouble. Don't want any of that. We're too long in a tooth, and it's not our offering at all.
Right, and again for clarity, I think you'll be pre-booking tables, you'll be having parties coming in as individuals, you'll not be expecting a busload coming in every night to take over the cocktail bar and go up. And again, if I may, the music that you're playing will be consistent background music, no louder than what you would expect in your local store if you were shopping.
If I can can I just help you with that? The actual capacity of this building is very self-limited of itself, the physical configuration. So the restaurant's on the first floor. It's only intended that diners will go up to the first floor. So there's a very modest bar on the ground floor, maximum capacity of 30, and that will be for people to come and have a drink. So it's predominantly a dining experience. People can have a drink before, but certainly there'll be there is no area upstairs for just drinking. There's no standing area at the bar. It's just going to be table service, and it's going to be managed in that way.
So my final point is, looking at your bars, just to get this in my head, in my experience of other similar venues, a lot of what you will have in the bar downstairs will transition upstairs.
Yes, it's predominantly a feeder bar for where people can come half an hour in advance and have a drink downstairs, meet. You know, not everybody turns up at the same time. It's quite nice to just have a little wee drink first and before you go up for the formal dining experience, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I live in a little village, as I said earlier, as do several other people, and we have a public house. I can walk the public house if I want to buy a bottle of wine or a can of pop, as can anyone else. But that isn't what his business is about. I noticed one of the complaints is you be selling in the premises and off the premises. Can you dispel that in my mind, that you may have the person that comes in and wants to take a bottle of wine home, but it isn't for Mr. and Mrs. Public to walk in, buy something and take out and be walking up Hill Street swigging from a bottle?
We certainly hope not, I think is my first reaction to that question. Also, actually, we're very fortunate in the Corbridge that we have the co-op that opens until 10 o'clock. So if people do want to buy alcohol to take home, they do have that facility. And also, of course, there's the price differential. So we're not encouraging people to come upstairs to the restaurant unless they're actually dining and staying there for the evening.
Thank you for that. I couldn't find anywhere except from the complaint that your business was to be selling off as much as on the premises. So I wanted that clarification. Thank you.
And from myself, there are, from the objectives, concerns about deliveries. How will deliveries come? What time? Are you going to have any conditions on that they'll be at a certain time? And also, not only just deliveries, but also taking bottles out and, you know, putting bottles in the bin, that sort of thing. Have you got any sort of time restrictions on that?
So, with regards to the bottles and the bins, that's all in the centre of the building. No noise will emanate from that at all. There's a small courtyard where the bins will be placed. When the bin collections are due, and they'll be timed with the council, we'll bring them out when the bin arrives. That'll be daytime. So everything from the restaurant on the night times are in the courtyard, which are surrounded by 3-storey elevation. There'll be no noise emanating with regards to that. Deliveries, our offering is to use local providers as much as possible. Quite a lot of those providers don't deliver, so we'll be actually going out and picking the deliveries up ourselves. Every now and then there may be a deli fresh, but again, even that we only want to use deli fresh if they're using local providers. That's just unfortunate, but it would be during the day. But the post office has deliveries; they pull up outside all the time. Boots has deliveries; they pull up. There won't be big artics pulling around like the Golden Lion.
Thank you.
Could I just add to that? Sorry, just I do apologise. It's just the physical configuration point again. The delivery point is the front door, so that's on the commercial front of the building where all the deliveries take place generally in the village. So it's not as if there's a back door that's closer to people's houses. There isn't. It will all come in off the public highway. And actually, the way that Corbridge is now configured, the junction has just been altered. HGVs are not allowed to come past Prince's Court to access this property. So even if, I'm not really foreseeing any HGV deliveries anyway, but even if that happened, it wouldn't create any difference to Prince's Court because they're not allowed up that road.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? Daniel, have you any questions?
So one of the questions I've got is, it says in the licensing objectives section of the application that door staff will be in place. Has that been confirmed? And can you advise what you're going to have in place in respect of that? And also I wanted to question whether or not you're going to have any CCTV.
Can I just pick up on that? Actually, since the application has been amended, if you note the application explains that particularly for the late hours, door staff will be in place. Given that the application has now been amended to finish at midnight, that's not foreseen to be a requirement. It'd be quite unusual to have door staff on a private restaurant within a village setting. So that was actually to take account of the late night drinking, and since the application has been amended, that's no longer forming part of the application. And I'm sorry you asked two questions and I've forgotten the second one.
Whether or not CCTV is going to be in place.
Yes, it will be. There's only one that it's an interesting building because it goes straight onto the public street. So literally there's the only real opportunity to observe public is at the front door. Thank you.
On the point of premises open to the public, the hours premises open to the public, there's nothing in the amended things as to what time the premises closes, whereas the application on Fridays and Saturdays, it's open to the public till 2 o'clock in the morning. I presume you'll be amending that.
That has been formally amended, and I can formally amend the closing times if that would assist the committee.
To be what time?
The times are shown actually on the application.
So you're
So it's
11 o'clock in the evening.
Monday to Thursday 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Friday to Saturday midnight, and Sunday 10 o'clock.
Right, thank you very much. Great. Members of the public objectors, have you any questions to the applicant?
One of our concerns is the aspect of the takeaway for alcohol. We're really very concerned that we might find that there's people coming in, perhaps they've been to Newcastle and they come back and they know that the restaurant is open to later hours and come back and tank up, if you like.
With respect,
yes.
it questions to the applicants, not sort of statements. So if you have a question for the applicants, you put your case forward next. But have you any questions for the applicants?
You didn't clarify how many people you're setting out for dining on the upper floor.
So we've got 48 seats upstairs, and the building itself is on building regulations is 60 upstairs, 60 downstairs. We can't fit 60 in downstairs, so it'll probably be about 30 maximum, and 48 covers upstairs.
Right.
Sorry, can I just, with regards to the takeaway, we're selling very expensive bottles of wine, and if somebody's bought £100 bottle of Amarone and they haven't quite finished it, they can take that home with them if they want. That's our offering as far as takeaways are concerned. There won't be people coming in off the street to buy wine late at night and move on. We're not inviting trouble in.
Right. So it's definitely not selling 4-packs or anything like that?
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay. Well, that is obviously a concern. So this is why we're expressing it, and we have expressed it in the documents we've submitted. Can I ask about noise? That is one of our other main concerns. And whilst you've got a building there which has got restrictions on what is happening to it. I understand that the glazing that you've got to all those windows running along the front are a single glazing, and probably be very difficult to actually change that because of the restrictions. How are you going to try and minimise the amount of noise which will be escaping through the single glazing? Normally, when you would have a situation like that, you would probably put double glazing with large cavities on the in between to act as a cushion for the noise and limit the amount of noise that would go through to the outside. Because whilst the noise isn't directly facing our building, it can certainly go up Princess Street, where on the opposite side to our building there's the buildings there are faced with stone very largely, and any noise would bounce off those along Princess Street, and this is the sort of item where we're concerned about. Also, on the gable that is nearest to your property, whilst I notice the photograph you've taken just shows what appears to be a blank gable end, there is in fact on that elevation various balconies and areas where the occupiers have gardening areas, and so noise going into that area is also of concern, and could actually and probably would cause a disturbance.
Can I just assist you with that? I honestly can assure you, if we just think about it on a common sense proposition, there will be people seated in a restaurant at tables speaking in, I can do a really loud voice, I'm trying not to because I'm on mic, but speaking in the sort of voice that I'm using now, that people have been using in this room. There's going to be background music that is no louder than that. If any of that noise does go through the single glazing, and I can honestly say I would be jolly surprised if it would, what you have to think about where you live is that you have the public house with windows directly facing you. You also have 2 garages that during the daytime make quite a lot of noise directly facing you. The chances of the noise coming from going through the glazing and actually getting towards your properties, I would say, is 0, because the noise will be going out the front and the balconies are round 180 degrees and behind the restaurant. So people walking down the street chattering, people parking the cars and opening and closing the doors at the co-op, people coming and going from the Lion are all going to be louder at your properties than what's happening inside this building.
Okay, could I further to that, within the dining area and also the bar underneath, are you incorporating in the furnishings measures to absorb sound within the property?
Yeah, so it's quite an unusual design that we're having. So there's feature walls or in the plan, and they've got 50 mil cork boards on them, which are very absorbent, will absorb a lot of sound. There's wooden walls, feature walls, wooden bars. It's very tactile furnishings, soft organic furnishings, rather, should I say? So yeah, it will absolutely absorb.
Considerable amount of soft furnishings and absorbent furnishings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ceiling finish?
Sorry?
What sort of ceiling finish are you using?
It's all been insulated. We reboarded every ceiling, rebattened it, insulated it, and reboarded it and plastered it. So we've increased the insulation in the restaurant, because one of our concerns was a February evening and the wind whistling down Hill Street. In my experience at the Duck House, it was a cold restaurant. So we factored in as much insulation into there as possible, which will dampen a lot of any noise.
But the ceiling finishes themselves, are they perforated in any way
No.
for the sound to going up into the boarding?
No, so the existing ceiling is there. We've put battens in. We've put thick Kingspan insulation in, so thick. Then reboarded it. The only holes in that section of reboarding are light fittings.
Right.
Can I just confirm the property has been recently refurbished, and of course it does meet all the relevant building regulations. I think it's important to have that in your mind.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions from any other members of the public there? Or has your spokesperson asked the relevant questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm just concerned about
If you could hang on, if you could just pass the microphone across to him so he can.
Right. Is it on? Yes, it is on. Yes, thank you. I'm concerned about the parking situation which will take place. As you know, Corbridge has expanded considerably in the last years, certainly since the Duck House restaurant was there. And I just don't know how the parking is going to surely be going up Princess Street, St Helens Street, and the Aden Road. Where does it all end? I think that's a big problem at the moment.
So one of the things that we are planning to do one of the things we're planning to do is to introduce a shuttle.
Sorry?
Yeah, okay.
It's a village centre where commercial premises are expected to locate. There's certainly no requirement within the planning system to provide extra parking for this sort of facility. And of course, if you've lived in Corbridge a long time, you'll know that the number of pubs in Corbridge is significantly reduced. I think there used to be 7. So as a village centre, there's plenty of off-street parking, particularly in this location. There's parking all the way up past the Angel, and there's an overspill car park over the bridge. So there are lots of places for people to park. It's also the case that if people are coming to a local restaurant, they may not bring a private car because, of course, they may want to have a drink. But there's no concern that this is a large facility that's going to bring a huge number of cars into the village. It's not. The cars will just park where everybody else parks. There'll be sort of the natural churn of cars in Princess Street, so that's not seen as being a problem.
Thank you. Just been pointed out to me, which and I knew anyway, that if you look on the photographs of the street, it's WO lines on it anyway, so they couldn't park there anyway. They'd have to park in a regulated place to park. Right,
We are still concerned about those times where the establishment will be open till beyond 11 o'clock. We think that the general consensus of opinion is, and which I've already expressed in what's been submitted to yourselves, that we believe that where the premises is open beyond 11 o'clock, we think that is unreasonable considering its proximity to our accommodation.
Right, thank you for that. If you would like to put your case forward now as objectors, please do so.
I've been trying to put forward our case in the questions, and in essence, our concern is the fact that the premises will be open beyond 11 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays, and it goes up to about 11:30 on Monday to Thursday for the late refreshment licence. We appreciate that some of the hours that were originally talked about have actually been brought down, but we still believe, particularly that with respect to the Sunday, where the original hours being mentioned were quite excessive, in our opinion, we think that where 11 o'clock is being, we believe that hours beyond 11 o'clock, we would ask that could be looked at to try and get those reduced if possible.
Is that it?
Are there any other points which...
The garage closes at 5 every day, front, and is closed all weekend. So you get very little noise from the garage.
Right, thank you.
Did you want to say
No,
Are there any questions from the panel to the objectors?
I have, yeah.
Well, yeah?
Yeah, there's been quite a bit mention of the duck house. Now, I don't know the duck house, but obviously as residents you will. When the duck house was operational, was it an inconvenience? Was there noise where you live?
Personally, I was not living there at the time, so I can't express an opinion on that. I would say that on the odd occasion that I did go along there, it had very few people in, which is probably why it failed.
Thank you. So I have a better understanding. I think I heard that there's a chemist in the town hall and a post office.
Correct.
Do you perchance hear them at all during the normal operations, their business?
Well, their hours of opening are just as a normal shop would be, so they're not opened at all late.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just so I get a fuller picture of what's happening during the day, etc.
The only comment I would say about that is that both for the post office and for Boots, the chemist, the people going in and out of their properties is quite a hazard because of the narrowness of the paving. So that's the only comment I would observe for your benefit about it.
Thank you, Daniel.
Hello. We've mentioned the Golden Line quite a bit, so I'm just curious, one, as to, in your opinion, does quite a lot of noise come from the Golden Lion, as it's considerably closer, and is there a lot of antisocial behaviour that comes out of there?
The answer is yes. There is a lot of antisocial behaviour that comes out, and that is obviously a concern that it doesn't spread across the road to where the sycamore is. On occasions, members who live in the vicinity have had to go across to the Golden Lion and ask them to cut the noise down, which they have done, and they've closed windows and things like that. But in its favour, if you like, I would point out that the walls, which are on the Princes Street elevation, are solid stone-faced walls with very, very small penetrations for noise to get out. I don't know if that helps, does it?
It does, thank you. I've got one more question. So is the Golden Lion primarily just a pub, or is it a restaurant as well?
I believe they have people staying there as well as...
Right.
So it's a small hotel, if you would like, as well.
Great, thank you.
The police have no objections to this. Have you ever had any evidence of the police being called out to the pub opposite?
Yes, there was an incident fairly recently where somebody was stabbed just outside. That's what we believe happened. So the end of that end of the Princes Street, which is just opposite where Boots Chemist is, was sealed off by the police just recently.
Right, thank you. Are there any questions from the applicants to the objectors?
Can I just ask, are you aware of that the operating hours for the Golden Lion are, in some instances, later than applied for today, and also, in particular, the Duck House hours that were granted by this committee previously are unrestricted as to live music and have later hours than we're applying for?
I haven't looked at that in detail, but I appreciate what you're saying. But obviously our concerns are what are happening, which are going to happen in the future, rather than what has happened in the past.
Do you understand, though, that it's not the function of this committee to pass judgment on the Golden Line, for example? The relevance of those questions are just really to clarify the operating environment of this particular area.
Sure, yes. The only reason for expressing comments is that I was asked, and I've expressed the situation as I think is fair to present.
Could I just ask, is there anybody here that did live in Prince's Court when the Duck House operated?
I think, yes, Anne was living
Would
there.
you mind if I asked you a question?
Could you pass the microphone over, please?
Right. There you go.
Could you just tell me whereabouts you live, please?
In Prince's Court.
Yes, it's a long court, just roughly.
I live at the very back of the building.
Okay.
On the ground floor, at the back of the building.
Thank you. And when the Duck House operated, could you hear people talking in that building?
I must say no.
Could you hear music from the building?
Well, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions? Right. We get to the stage of summing up now. You have the objectives, if you'd like to sum up in a few words why you think this licence shouldn't be granted. Would you like to sum up in just a few words, don't go through it all again, just to sum up why you think this licence shouldn't be granted?
I'm not saying that we don't want the licence to be granted. It's only where the hours are beyond 11 o'clock that we have a problem with that.
Thank you. As applicants, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. I think, as I said in the beginning, the issues between us are very narrow now. And as the gentleman has said, the focus of the concern is operating beyond 11 o'clock. And that was also referred to in relation to Sunday. The application does not seek opening beyond 11 o'clock on a Sunday. It seeks 10 o'clock on a Sunday. So that's resolved. We don't need to worry about that. And the only occasion on which we are seeking to open after 11 o'clock is for the late refreshments licence. So this is basically to let people finish their meals off, and then on the Friday and Saturday. So basically, the height of the objector's case is 2 hours. It's 1 hour on a Friday night and 1 hour on a Saturday night. And that must be viewed in the context of what's happening around. And of course, I can help you to this extent. The Golden Lion licence, which is NPR 866. I'm just helping you because I'm reading from a copy of the licence. They are allowed to play live music until midnight, Friday to Sunday, and they're also allowed to play recorded music and serve alcohol on special days until midnight. So, of course, they're wider, and the opening hours of the premises in some instances are later. So that's the general context. And the Duck House, which was the previous licence in exactly the same premises, permitted live music every day from 10 in the morning till midnight. So that's the general sort of licensing environment that we would operate in. Can I just check? There's no evidence, I'm sure Ms Gebby will help me if I've got this wrong. There's no evidence of any police complaints. The police have not raised an objection, and I've seen no evidence of any environmental health complaints about noise either. So I think that's quite important. Thank you, unless you have further questions.
Thank you. If we were to grant this licence, when you look at the conditions, the new conditions you've got, number 6, training, and 3, if this was to be granted, I think it's a long way for Sussex Police to come up, so that would be that would be changed to Northumbria Police, if it's granted.
I do apologise. I changed it in one paragraph and I've forgotten the other.
That's okay. We spotted the
Thank you
deliberate mistake.
I'm really pleased because it shows you've read it. Thank you. You get brownie points.
Right, we'll adjourn now and deliberate and come to a conclusion. So if you'd like to leave the chamber and we'll stay here, and if you wish to go home, by all means go home. If you wish to stay, you can stay. Welcome back, everybody. We have deliberated and Daniel will read out our decision.
Good afternoon, everyone. The subcommittee has considered the application by Mick Forster on behalf of the Sycamore Restaurant Limited for the premises licence in respect of Sycamore Restaurant, 2 to 3 Town Hall Building, Corbridge. The subcommittee received and considered the written report of the licensing officer, reviewed the pre-prepared skeleton argument and amended operating schedule submitted on behalf of the applicant. The subcommittee has also reviewed and considered the written representations of the 11 objectors. The subcommittee heard all representations from Nicola Allen, Council of Trinity Chambers, representing the applicant. and Mr Richard G Marshall, appointed on behalf of the objectors to act as their representative. The subcommittee noted that no representations were received from any of the responsible authorities in respect of the licence applied for, so the subcommittee has determined to grant a premises licence for the following: supply of alcohol on and off sales Monday to Thursday 10 till 11, Friday and Saturday 10 till 12, Sunday 10 till 10, late night refreshment Monday to Thursday 11 till 11:30, Friday to Saturday 11 till 12, and recorded music Friday to Saturday 11 till 12. As you're aware, because we've granted a licence for the supply of alcohol, we're not required. You have permission already to play recorded music between the hours of 8 and 11 every day, and late night refreshment is separate. Sorry, I'm getting confused. In terms of conditions, there are conditions to be attached to the licence, which are the mandatory conditions and the additional conditions outlined at Appendix A. The conditions are the ones that you have proposed in your amended operating schedule. The only amendment we've made is we've substituted Sussex with Northumbria. So the subcommittee has considered the representations from all parties, both written and oral. The subcommittee has taken into account and gives significant weight to the fact that there were no representations from any of the responsible authorities regarding the application. The subcommittee has considered that there has been no substantive evidence provided that the licensing objectives will be prejudiced by the grant of the application. The subcommittee is of the view that the concerns of the interested parties are perceived issues rather than evidenced. The subcommittee believes that the conditions attached to the premises licence sufficiently deal with potential issues raised by the interested parties in respect of licensing objectives. The subcommittee is encouraged that the applicant amended the application in line with the objectors' views regarding the premises licence, and whilst the subcommittee is satisfied that the licensing objectives will not be undermined by the premises, the interested parties are reminded that they may apply for a review of the premises licence should any issues materialise in the future. In respect of today's decision, there is a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court against the decision, which must be lodged within 21 days of the date of written notification of the decision. Our licensing team will send out a copy of the written notice of the decision, and at the end is just the conditions which are already outlined in the document we all have copies of, so I'm not going to go through them again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So, congratulations, you have your licence. Yes, Nicola?
I'm terribly sorry to delay you. Mr Bammy, can I just seek clarification on the licence to play recorded music? You didn't read out the hours that we've actually applied for. I completely understand that to 11 o'clock is already allowed under the Live Music Act, but I think we do we not need the licence from 10 until on midnight Friday and Saturday? That's what we applied for, and you didn't read those out.
I did see recorded music Friday and Saturday at 11 till 12.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. So that's 11 till 12 p.m. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, congratulations, you got your licence. I'll repeat again, you have the right to appeal within 21 days. But I would like to think that you will support this restaurant when it does open. I'm sure it will be great, honestly. I'm very, well, not hopeful, I'm sure it will be. Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. Thank you.